Boom, and welcome to WEYU Pieces. Today we have a very, very special guest of the project, and that's none other than the artist behind the masterpieces, NFN Kalyan. NFN Kalyan, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Fantastic. So if you don't know, WEYU Pieces is a social impact initiative where we've taken a collection of art and we've chopped that into pieces and had refugees draw that in. And the art behind this is done none other than our guest. If you have not subscribed to the channel, then do so now. And make sure you ring the notification bell because we're going to have tons of interesting updates in the coming days, weeks, months, and years. So, all right, let's just jump right in. I think our audience, and myself included, want to learn as much as we can about you, the art behind it, and some of your experiences. So let's kind of try to start right at the beginning. What got you into art at the very beginning? Let's start there.
I think I had a natural inclination to art. I always say that my dad always told me a story that I started when I was 2. I was trying to draw a circle. It was started a straight line and slowly managed to get it to curve. But then I advanced pretty quickly. Technically, I was, I think, as good as I am now in my teens. And then I kind of gave everything up for a while. And then I professionally started pretty late when I was 27. And now I'm 39, so it's been 12 years of professional work now.
Fantastic. Yeah, amazing. I think a lot of times people have the natural inclination and it's discovered pretty early, you know, with music or all kinds of different art forms. If there is something that you can help people with that we're getting into the art world, you said you started when you were 27. Mm-hmm. What would be some hints and tricks to kind of help people, you know, move into the space?
I give 2 different pieces of advice. I say if you're very young and you know that what you want to do is art, go to an Ivy League school and major in art and get a master's in art. When you do that, the galleries and the collectors will come to your shows. If you're doing something worthwhile, your teachers often have connections, and connections kind of rule the world a little bit with this. If you're starting late, like me, even when you're doing it young, this still applies. But if you're starting late like me, which 27 doesn't seem late, but it kind of is, it's all about the work. You have to do good quality work, and you have to persevere through pretty much everything. The thing I learned pretty quickly is it doesn't matter how cool what you do is, nobody really cares. Nobody notices. And then you look at things which is like a scribble on the wall and you're like, well, but really it's just about persistence. Find your style, and it could be a scribble on the wall, what you have to say, and keep going. And eventually, if what you're doing has validity and you believe in it and you keep going, something will happen.
Amazing. So I've noticed in your art, I'm an incredible fan of your work, and I see a little bit of a merger between traditional, you know, classical art and more modern style stuff. Can you explain your style and where you kind of incorporate that, and maybe the philosophies behind the pieces? Is this something that's already in your mind and you just throw it out there, or is it a work in progress when you usually do your work?
All my work, so right now I've been on a painting kick, but even before that, I can remember taking this approach. So I think it's natural to my way of seeing things, but I try to juxtapose images that people are already familiar with, or if they're not familiar with it, that it has some, like a classical painting, they may have never seen it before, but it has some meaning. They say, oh, I know this type of thing. So I try to juxtapose images together. And that juxtaposition creates a tension in the viewer's mind that they then have to resolve. Okay, why has this happened? I once spent 19 months on a single piece because I was composing the piece as I went. And that I realized after that, and I loved that piece, but afterwards I realized I never want to do that again, just for the practicality of making work. Now, everything I'm going to do, I know what it is before I start a piece, and then I move into it. So actually, a lot of my time is spent composing pieces now that I think about it. And that process is very intuitive. I don't always know exactly where I'm going with the composition. Things come in, things come out. I'll do it on Photoshop or with sketches on occasion. And but when that final solid thing is there. These are the elements that'll be there. That's what the final piece will be. So that's my approach to a composition. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, we were talking about painting a lot, and I did notice that you had some sculpting work out there as well. Can you maybe tell the audience what you've dabbled in and what your primary things are, and maybe the transitions into one art form to another art form that you've gone through?
You know what's funny is that when I started, when you posed a question like that, when I started, I quit my job. I didn't know what being an artist meant. I knew that's what I was going to do. Actually, the first thing I did was for a week, I read books at the library. I just sat at the library and read books. And then after that, I sat down, I drew a self-portrait with a ballpoint pen. The second thing I did was another ballpoint pen, large. The second thing I did was another ballpoint pen work, and it actually is very similar to the paintings that I'm doing. Even though it was ballpoint pen, it was juxtaposing all these things. My background is India, but then I grew up in the States. My mom is Welsh Irish. I put like Jesus on the cross, but as Vishnu. That was the drawing. And then there was like an amazing, intricate background, all with ballpoint pen. And then I was looking at those and I said, could do a lot of ballpoint pen drawings. I don't know if people will really care about this. So then I moved into sculpture, and I was doing glass sculptures. I did those for a couple of years, but I did not want to be a gimmick. Not that I feel like my sculptures were a gimmick, but I didn't want to be the guy that makes glass sculptures or the guy that paints heads or whatever. I didn't want to be the guy that does the thing. And I dabbled with mixed media and finally came to paintings. And now I kind of am the guy that combines different things in a painting. But I don't mind that so much because you can't really put your finger on it so much. It's not always the same, and it's very hard to track down. You can say all kinds of things with the method. So I've ended up here.
Amazing. And so you've pointed at the pieces in the background, and now
Yes.
we've revealed to everybody in the world at this point what the pieces are. And these are the pieces that are a part of our collection. I think that they're the absolute most magical paintings, and I would like to learn more about those, and I would love for you to tell the audience some of the depth there. Now, I know, like with most paintings and most artwork, especially if you don't have the artist there to explain it, there's a lot of room for interpretation, but maybe you can tell us some stories about these individual pieces and what they mean and what they represent.
Sure. You know what's funny is I'm notorious for never saying anything about my work. Like to say, what is this? I'll say, well, I don't know. What is it? But with these pieces, there was something specific in mind because it was done as a commission. And it was done, I was asked to do it because of my specific way of approaching things worked perfectly for the commission. But these pieces, which they look small behind me, but they're actually, each one of them is 3 feet by 3 feet. So each one of them is a yard by yard. So we're looking at 3 yards across behind me. What is being juxtaposed in these pictures is African migrants in European settings. So their clothing, the backgrounds, even the, and it's all chosen from classical paintings. Like both of the women in this are wearing costumes that were worn in paintings of Joan of Arc, separate paintings of Joan of Arc. So all of these have references, but they're African migrants or refugees in European settings. And when you approached me with this project, I said, I have the exact work for that because it goes so seamlessly with the themes and the cause that you're dealing with. So these pieces were the first thing that popped into my head. I said, we got to use those.
It was a no-brainer for the project and the team. I think we met with you and your artwork kind of in the middle, and it spoke a lot to us, and not just to us, but also to the refugees that were participating in this work. And that's why us collectively with the refugees, because we communicate with them frequently, but also with our team and our partners, we decided to make this one first because it really spoke to everybody. Not that any of the other pieces lack the same quality and the same stuff, but there was something just magical about the background, the feeling, the thought. And the name of the pieces, can you tell us the name of the piece?
Oh, the name of the piece what is the name of the piece? Sorry, I forget the names of my own pieces.
Yeah,
Do you know the names?
You've done lots. I certainly know the name. Our hands are open but not empty. So
there we go.
yeah, I thought like that name as well for us was like this is really, really perfect for exactly what we're doing and what it represents. Because when I spoke to you first and I spoke to all of the different artists that participated in the WEYU Pieces, I said the mindset, the philosophy is inclusion and acceptance, you know, so things that represent that. And I think it was within about 10 seconds, you were like, I got it, like it's done. We'll definitely participate with these pieces. And when I saw them and the story behind them and who they were commissioned for, being able to speak with him as well, it was quite magical to have you involved. And the results, when people see the results of this all together, I think they will be absolutely astonished. So
when I saw what you did with it, it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. We've talked about this, but to me, the NFT has so many use cases, but what you have done specifically for art and the way it's crowdsourced, I don't know how in depth people are, how much people are going to be aware of what the steps to get the final NFTs. But every step along the way is so altruistic and so pure. And then the final product is so great. The whole thing just lines up perfectly. It's an amazing project.
Thank you very much. And thank you for participating. And it is one of those things, I really feel like the process of putting it all together is probably very much like an artist making a piece of music or a painting. It kind of came out of this weird realm where somebody contacted me from the UN, said, you know, is there something that we can do to support refugees with blockchain and this kind of technology? And it just started to like float these ideas inside of my brain saying, you know what, listen, there's probably a language barrier for refugees. So we want to do something that language might not have to play a role. So something a little bit more simple. How about a simple drawing thing? Art speaks to everybody in every single language without, you know, spoken words or without written words. So we built this little platform where they have a simple paintbrush and just paint in these little pieces. And the concept to even get that across to people verbally in my team, they thought I was insane and they didn't understand it. So that's why it's very hard still to this day when I'm explaining this to people. It's virtually impossible. I've got the presentation verbally down, but still people are like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. But when I show them is when they go, wow, how and why. And I'm sure it happens with your paintings and especially with music, just artists in general, that you're making a piece and it's just like you're not sure if it's going to come out the way that it should or what's going to happen. And then all of a sudden the end result is like it surprises you and you didn't expect it to either be so good or be such a, you know, such a piece. But it happened to be pretty interesting. And we're very excited because this is only the first and it's just been revealed what we've been working on and how we worked on it. But as we move forward, showing the process, showing the tools. And one of the most important elements of this is that it was very important to get this type of technology in the hands of people that need it most. And so with every single piece that was done, as beautiful and amazing as they are, each of the pieces were paid in cryptocurrencies and a very, very well and fair pay for each piece. So it just showcased the power of the technology in so many different capacities. And now it's transitioning into selling these pieces off to even raise, you know, more money for the whole initiative and continue to drive it forward. So that's
the part I think is so amazing. So you divide each one of these paintings up. Different people paint different sections of the painting. They get paid on the spot for the section and then the money from selling the NFT also goes back. I mean, how much more incredible? I mean, it's just the whole concept. As an artist, you're always looking for the perfect concept, and sometimes you have a good idea, but there's a problem in it.
Right.
And anybody looking at the basic philosophy of what you're doing can say, yeah. And a lot of artists, I know we get away with it sometimes because people say, oh, that's great. But then when you really think about it, it's like, but this project you've done has I don't see the problem in it. It just flows so seamlessly. Everything comes right back to the source. And that's amazing.
Thank you so much. And well, talking about this technology and NFTs, we've been talking a lot about art and even the process. When and where and how did an artist like yourself get into the NFT space? Yeah, tell us.
Well, I've always been kind of pushing what can be done. I started with those glass sculptures and so on. So even though I'm doing painting, I actually did painting because I thought it was dead. I mean, it is dead. So I said, let's do a dead form of art as kind of deconstructing the form. It's been done, but I said, let's do that. So I've always been pushing things. So my agent, Vincent Harrison, called me in May of 2020 and said, there's this thing, NFT. And within 5 minutes of him explaining it to me, I was like, okay, we're doing this. And my first drop was I've done 4 drops with Nifty Gateway, July, September, December, February last year, and then into this year. And then I had a few other drops. I had mentioned to you before that I did with Genies, the avatar company, which they're really on the come up. And then I did a Chinese crypto site, which I still am just kind of amazed by that whole thing. That was awesome. And then because it was getting banned at the same time as we were doing it, so that whole thing was really funny. But I really took a step back because the market was so crazy. And as an artist, that makes me kind of hesitate. And rather than jump in and make tons of money, I think, let me take a step back. And I took the summer off. And now I have 3, probably Nifty Gateway, although I'm looking at some other places. A couple will be on Nifty Gateway. Drops planned. I'm putting them together, trying to do really good stuff. And then you said, all right, it's time to push the button on this. And so this will kind of kick it off for me. Like, this is an awesome way to get back into NFT. This project is amazing. So
awesome. Yeah, I think that there's an overabundance of stuff going on in the NFT space. It's saturated. There's a lot more product than there is demand. There's a lot of silly stuff going on in the space, but if you're really into the NFT market and if you sift through all of that stuff, you can find some real nice hidden gems. And regardless of where it goes, it will ebb and flow. You know, the markets will go up, they will go down, but there's always like some gems out there to look out for. So for everybody viewing right now, in the description below, you'll find all of the links to NFN Kalyan and yeah, to what he's doing, where he's at, and especially Instagram, where you can see a lot of his work and all of his amazing stuff. So yeah, listen, that is absolutely amazing. I just like to thank you for joining this whole entire the entire project. Thank you for being the one that gifted the ones that were special, so special that we had to make them the number one kickoff for the whole entire WEYU Pieces. We really appreciate it. Yeah, and I think that about does it. Is there any other things that you'd like to touch on before we leave off?
No, just you and I, we've been talking for quite some time now. We've gotten to know each other a little bit. It's always good to see you. That's all I really have to say.
Thanks, man. The same goes for you too, man. And hopefully after this whole COVID thing, then we can meet up somewhere on planet Earth. So
that sounds good.
Appreciate you very much, and thank you. And see you next time.
Thank you very much.